This camera changed the way that I shoot. That's not an exaggeration, I'm being deadly serious. Before getting this camera and now, after I've had it for a good few months, the difference is pretty significant, and in this video that is exactly what I'm going to discuss. I'm going to go over my experiences with this camera and the way that it has changed how I approach photography. I have done 2 videos on this camera before. One of them was like an unboxing and first impressions video, and another one was talking about pointless pictures, something that I am going to touch on again in this video, but that other one was purely about that video. So if you're interested in the parts before this one, go check them out. Also, I make a lot of different photography and documentary and video content, so if that's the kind of thing that interests you, this is the place to be. So I've had this camera for a few months now and I've used it very regularly. I've carried it on me pretty much whenever I've gone out. It is the everyday carry camera. Before that, I had the camera I'm filming on now as my only main proper decent camera, and that is the Fujifilm X-T4. It is brilliant, I can't sing its praises enough, but it is too big and cumbersome to be convenient. It's not an everyday camera. You can't take it everywhere with you. It's as simple as that. So although the quality is incredible, it's just not convenient and useful enough, and that is exactly why I bought this camera in the first place. I wanted something compact, something smaller, lighter, something you can shot in your pocket or your bag, something you can have around your neck without it getting a little too heavy, and that's exactly what that is. So the opinions and the discoveries and the experiences that I've had with this camera, they're not just applicable to this camera. I dare say that any nice, small, compact, micro four thirds camera, I think the things I'm going to cover is probably going to apply to those pretty much as it does to this one right here. But just to be fully transparent, this is the Lumix GX850 or GX800 or GF9, it's got a few names, and the lens I've got on is the Panasonic Lumix 12-32, just so you know. This isn't going to be a specky review, it's going to be, this is my experience, this is just my take. I don't care about the numbers, I care about the experience. The main point, this is the big one, it is convenient. It is a small camera, but it packs a hell of a punch. You get some incredible quality images out of this thing, and you don't have to pay the price of having something big and heavy or inconvenient. It doesn't feel like a nuisance in your bag or in your pocket, and when you've got it hung around your neck, it doesn't really get tiresome, which is exactly what I was wanting when I bought this, and luckily that's exactly what I got. So thumbs up for that. As a result of that, I found myself carrying this camera with me far more often than I carried the Fujifilm, purely because it's just more convenient and it's far easier to take with me. If I shoot anything or not, it doesn't matter because it's not weighing me down. But because I've had it on me all the time, I found myself taking far more photos, a lot of them being pointless pictures, just photos I'm taking because it looks nice and I'm taking them just for the fun of it and the enjoyment of it for no other deeper reason. But a lot of them, it's just, I mean, why would I not? If you've always got the camera with you, you're going to take a lot more photos. That's just common sense. So having something like that is so easy to have on you, it allows you to take way more photos, which, I mean, if you're a photographer, that's kind of what you're wanting. As far as daily use goes, it's this one, build quality. It doesn't feel like it's an absolute premium, but it's certainly not bad. There's no damage. I've had it flung around in my pocket, in my bag. I've took it to Scotland and back, and it is pretty much in the same condition as it was when I first got my hands on it, so I can't complain there. The battery life isn't incredible, but it usually lasts for the average full day of shooting, so again, I can't really complain. Daily use, having something like this, a little micro four thirds camera, like if you haven't already, do consider it. It is a game changer. The last video I made in relation to this camera was on pointless pictures. Simply defined, it's photos taken for no greater purpose or meaning, simply because the subject looks good. It's where I started in photography, to capture beautiful things, but it's something that died quite a while ago for me until I got my hands on this camera and I just carried it with me, and I found myself taking far more photos of that nature, and that is a really good thing. It revives casual photography again. In my case, that is something that I had lost, and I know there's a hell of a lot of photographers out there that will definitely be in that position as well. On days out, on holidays, on wherever I've been, I found myself taking a lot more of those pointless pictures, just of anything and everything, but also of capturing memories, capturing people, capturing landscapes. It's really good at everything actually, and even though it's got a micro four thirds sensor, meaning it doesn't quite take in as much detail or light as full frame, I've not found that to be much of an issue at all. You lose a bit of dynamic range, so when your whites are whited out or your darks have gone pitch black and you're losing detail, it's a lot harder to get some of that back. But once you're used to exposing on the camera, you kind of don't do that as much anyway, and that issue becomes not an issue. So it's not really something I've ever worried about past the first couple of times using the camera. And it's actually really good at everything I've tried, from portraits to landscapes to abstract photos to what else have I done with it? I don't know. Travel photography, capturing memories, a bit of everything. I've not found it to really fall behind on anything, which is really impressive for something so small, so light, and for a good price. This camera in total, I got it from MPB secondhand, and for the camera and the lens, I think it was just under 500. I traded in a few lenses of my own that I wasn't using, so I got it a bit cheaper after the trade-in. But for the price, even without the trade-in, I'd say it's undoubtedly worth it to have something of that quality in your pocket. Now, obviously, there is some limitations with it being micro four thirds rather than full frame, with it being just not as high resolution as the full frame camera would be. There is limitations, I'm not going to deny that. None of them in casual use have ever came in as an actual problem. If anything, it pushes you to think a little more about what you're doing within a casual photography setting, and it yields pretty damn good results out of that. Naturally, it's not the strongest in low light. Full frame is going to pull in a lot more light and produce higher quality images when you don't have that much light available, but it does perform everywhere else really well. And when it is low light, if you're doing it just for casual photography and for the purpose of capturing memories, which is largely what I use it for, it's got a built-in flash, which can take some pretty nostalgic looking photos when you're in low light situations anyway. So if that is a style that you're fine with doing in a casual photography setting, then that isn't a problem at all. When it does come to low light though, you are going to struggle a little bit, but if you're not planning on shooting nighttime too much, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And obviously this is just with this lens. I'm sure you could probably get a lens that opens up a bit more and lets a bit more light in, so that would probably fix a bit of that problem anyway. And earlier when I said that you can't pull so much details out of the whites and blacks, I mean, if you're losing information, you're losing information. But that said, you can still edit these photos with a lot of freedom and a lot of scope. It's just in comparison to full frame, you're obviously going to lose a bit. Frankly, I'm not too bothered about the technicalities and the specs of cameras when it comes to casual photography. It's just not something I care about at all. Sure, if you're doing paid work, then this isn't the camera for you, for professional stuff. But if it's just going to be a daily carry, or if you just want to do some travel photography or casual stuff, this is perfect. And I can't say that enough. Before I got the camera, photography had kind of fallen into a bit of a trap for me. I only thought of it as something I wanted to do for a career, something I wanted to do to get paid, because I'd lost that love for casual photography. Whereas using this little camera, it has revived that completely for me. So now that I take this around with me everywhere, I'm able to take a lot of casual photography, and I view photography more like I did back when I was first starting, which for photography development and experimentation and learning and enjoyment, that is really where I want it to be. And being able to have it on me all the time, it is ideal for documenting life, for capturing images of my family and friends, for capturing social events, or just any little important thing within any of my days that maybe aren't expected or planned. It is ideal because it's just there. So I don't have to pre-plan everything. It is really good for just getting good photography whenever a good photo opportunity arises, which of course makes it ideal for memory preservation, for capturing shots that will preserve your memories better than if you weren't to take a photo at all. A lot of my memories are only as vivid as they are because I have them on photo in some form, so this is really good for that. My Google Photos on my phone is full from like 2011, I think, when I got my first phone and I put my email address in it for the first time. I didn't even know it was backing up my shots until like many years later. But now I can look back on there and see photos from when I was really young that bring to mind memories that otherwise would be completely buried and forgotten. And with this little camera, I'm able to do that as well, but in far higher quality. I can have this on me all the time and I can capture all of these events and these people and these scenes that when I look back on, these photos will be triggers for all of those memories, making sure they don't get buried and forgotten. And that is something that I really like about having such a good quality camera in my pocket. But then even when I'm doing paid work, for example, if I'm doing video stuff, it does shoot 4K video, but you can't set the settings on it, which is, I will admit, pretty strange. I think that is one of the shortfalls of this camera in specific. You can't set the settings for video, but if it comes to just shooting 4K video for your own casual use, it does do that 5 minutes at a time. So for example, I went on holiday to Scotland and I recorded like a documentary of the holiday so that me and my family can look back on it in the future, and I shot most of it on this camera. The stabilization isn't incredible, and obviously you don't have the ability to tailor the lighting and the exposure and the color so much, but it does capture video in a decent quality fairly well. So for that level of casualness, it's fine. I wouldn't use it for paid work though. But when it comes to photos, this goes in my bag as a backup. So that camera, the Fuji X-T4, that's the one I'm using for any sort of professional work. But just in case something goes wrong with that, I pack this. Because if push comes to shove, I can still take really high quality, good photos on this camera. I feel pretty confident that this could hold its weight in many, not all, but many situations. Undoubtedly, I'm going to continue using this. It has done a lot for me and my views on photography. It has revived a lot for me in that field. So you're going to see a lot of photos from this. You're going to see a lot of videos around this. That is undoubtable. And I'm definitely going to be getting more lenses for it. They're fairly cheap as far as lenses go. So if you're a beginner photographer or you just want to revive casual photography, I'd say something like this is a pretty affordable way to do it. Obviously nothing in photography is affordable, but like relatively speaking, this ain't bad. So if you've had a little camera like this, a micro four thirds camera or something along those lines, something compact, drop your experiences down in the comments, because I'd be interested to hear if you've had a similar experience to me. Having something like this on me has been game changing for the way that I shoot, and I don't think I'm alone in that. It'd be good to see if others agree. And if you're considering getting a camera like this, I don't know if I'm going to be the thing that triggers you to go out and invest in that, but like seriously, it's a good consideration. For me, it was a very good move. I'd say that if you are in a similar position to what I was, then go for it, because it definitely changed photography for me. And if that's something that you're looking for, then I can't recommend it enough. For the next video looking at this camera, I am considering doing a comparison video between this and that. So that would be the Micro Four Thirds Lumix GX850 and the full frame Fujifilm X-T4, so that we can put the differences and similarities, the pros and the cons, side by side. I think that would be an interesting view to have. Obviously this is really specific because it is that camera and that camera. It's quite hard to compare just full frame versus micro four thirds because there is so many little specific things camera to camera, but I do think it would still be a really interesting comparison. So if that's something you'd be interested in, drop a like and leave a comment and let me know, and I will get on that as soon as I can. If you want to see more photography content, you know where to find it. It's all down on the channel and there's loads more to come. So yeah, time for watching. I'll see you in the next one. So if you've had a little camera like this, a micro four, what are my words doing?